I need you to take the controls.
Okay.
Neil? Neil?
Jude, it is great seeing you. The Skeleton Crew is fantastic. I loved every single episode. It was like this childlike nostalgia just hit me. And it feels like you're great at keeping secrets, because it reminds me a little bit of when you played Jan Rog and you were kind of hiding who the character was. How did the secrecy of working at Marvel Studios help prepare you for the secrecy working on a Star Wars property?
You just learn to put up the iron curtain of no comment, or let people fill the question or the curiosity, field it, and then just, it's a certain smirk you have to develop. I go, yeah, maybe, Also, I'm a great believer in you keep secrets because it makes the experience better.
Sure.
And I want the audience, I want people to have a wonderful experience watching this, and they shouldn't have to know it. They shouldn't know everything.
I
there
agree
are
with
twists
you.
and turns.
I agree with you. So, I don't know how much you follow online rumors or not, but there was a lot of speculation on who your character was.
Yeah.
And after I watched the show, I'm not going to reveal any of that, but after I watched the show, I was like, oh, okay, I'm happy that I didn't know who your character was.
Good.
Speaking of that, you don't read anything about your character, so you don't know any wild rumors about your character?
No, I've just been told a couple by a few of the other interviewers today. So I know there were rumors that he was linked to Palpatine or Rey's father, or yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is, and I love all of that. I love that that's the passion for this universe, and the potential in this universe, and the links, and the people's sort of desire that the paths cross and characters cross. I mean, it's what makes it so live.
Sure. Now, I feel like your character is ripped out of Star Wars lore, but you're not quite sure what part of the lore that's from, because I feel like he has so many stories. Mm-hmm. How much of this mystery did you want to bring to your character?
The mystery was the key. Knowing the sort of scale of the universe now, and therefore what it might be like to survive in that, it meant I could draw on all sorts of influences and inspirations. And obviously the character himself has that potential because he is slightly contradictory, duplicitous, multifaceted. He's a survivor, but he's clearly quick-witted and changeable. The big question is he loyal? Is he a threat? Is he what's his intention?
Sure.
But what was wonderful was just being able to look at the canon and sort of go, okay, if he's that, then maybe he can remind people of this. If he's that, maybe he can remind people of that. And drawing on all of that just meant it was like cherry picking.
I love that. Now, I love the relationship that your character has with these kids, specifically Wim. I feel like he projects a hero's image onto your character that your character doesn't shy away from. But can you talk to me about Wim's relationship with your character and how we see that kind of progress throughout the show?
Sure. What I loved about this concept was the idea of making the protagonist children, because these children have an innocence, they have a sense of awe of the world and an excitement and a desire for heroes to be heroes and for the world to be an adventure, life to be an adventure. And Wim is absolutely front center of that. And I just think it sheds light on the universe and a lightness on the universe that we haven't seen for a while.
Right.
And it's actually pretty unique. But you're right that Jod, of course, sees in that opportunity. And, if he thinks that, then why am I going to tell him otherwise? Or if he thinks this, then why would I tell him otherwise? But of course, there's not absolute honesty in that. And so the relationship will go through pitfalls and rises. And as with all of them, though, it's a very living and breathing relationship, and the kids give as good as they get.
I love that. Now, these kids are incredible in the show. I think their chemistry is great with each other, and you're so much fun with them. What did they bring to their roles that surprised you?
Oh, well, first of all, what they brought to their roles was an incredible ability to perform. I mean, they're wonderful young actors, and they knew their parts, but they also knew how to lean into their parts and turn up emotions when and if they needed to, and they were listening and learning very fast. But there's a little bit of them. I mean, where the team were very clever in casting was there's a little bit of them in the roles anyway that obviously they saw and thought, she's going to be great at that, he's going to be great at that, and they were smart enough to listen and let them also embellish with themselves. So honestly, their brightness, their uniqueness, all of that I think was what impressed me the most.
Now, what does your character learn about himself through his interaction with these kids throughout the course of the series? And also, you as an actor, what did you learn about yourself playing this role and working with these incredible kids?
It's easier to talk about myself than my character because I don't know how much he learns. He's pretty set in his ways. I do think he would not. I don't think he'd begrudge saying that he cares for them, even though his actions don't always demonstrate that. What did I learn? I learned they reminded me on a daily basis to enjoy the playfulness of acting and filmmaking. It's a job, you should take it seriously, and yet there's a sense of play and playfulness that needs to be embraced.
Right. Speaking of the filmmaking side of this, I think John and Chris did such a fantastic job on this show. I know that Star Wars more recently has been using a lot of volume and green screen, but this felt like it was going back to the basics where everything was done in camera, and it really reminded me of the nostalgia side of the Star Wars that I fell in love with.
Good.
Can you talk about working with John and Chris as collaborators on this show?
First of all, before we even got into production, they were fantastically collaborative with ideas and how to really embellish Jod's backstory and who he was, and so very open to my suggestions, and that's always a really great starting point because you're figuring a character out. You want to find them in you, and you want them to also really want to get them to get into your system so that you can step into their boots and plausibly be that person, and that helps when you feel like the DNA of them is in the writing, and then. Their understanding of the technicality, the technical approach is incredible, and their attention to detail, and then also to be able to oversee, to gently godfather these amazing other directors who obviously all have their own experience, their own vision and style. That's not an easy job, and they did it just with such grace and open heart. It felt very much like a team effort, but they were our leaders, we were following them.
Last question I have for you is, what is your favorite Star Wars memory growing up?
It's an odd one, but honestly, probably it's when Empire Strikes Back came out, because Star Wars, I was very, very young. It was probably one of the first times I kind of really remember going to the cinema because it was so formative and so profound, as it was for pretty much everyone. It changed cinema. But it was an early experience of going to the cinema, so to me it was just, what is this? But I was very young, so I also was aware that there was another one coming, so the excitement of The Empire Strikes Back coming and going and seeing that was probably, I don't think I've ever topped it, because I knew how good the last was, and I don't know that we had a VHS player back then. I don't know that you were even able to rent videos back then. So I think I'd seen the first one maybe once, maybe we went twice, and then you had to wait.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years.
And then it was like, it's here, and you're a couple of years older, so you kind of understand what's going on, and just for it to deliver the way it did, right down to the tom-toms and pulling out the guts and him getting like, what's going on? These creatures. I mean, it was remarkable.
Incredible, incredible. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. You're incredible, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast.